It's like the marker on your bag.
Dude, check your again. It says right here that a news clip just popped up on my computer. It says Bitcoin, huge rise in Bitcoin today.
Huge rise in Bitcoin today? Like even more so than yesterday?
News clip 20 minutes ago.
Let's see here, BTC. Oh, buddy. Oh, it was what was it at yesterday? 88? I think the high it hit yesterday was 88. 90,000 now. Damn. Big time.
I know who's buying lunch.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I'm never going to be able to realize those gains anyway, without getting them taxed to oblivion. So I'm just going to leave them.
Wait, do they tax it now?
Oh yeah. They make you.
I didn't know that passed yet.
Yeah, it did. They got to report that on taxes every year. 90,000, dude. That's huge.
Oh, shit. Sorry. I didn't know you were recording. I'm sitting here eating into the mic. Okay. I was looking at this news article.
That is every episode. I didn't realize you were recording.
I wasn't. I was looking at this news article.
Oh, we're recording?
I'm like,
oh, man. Start over. I didn't realize you were recording.
Whatever.
Oh, God.
Shut your mouth.
Jamie, do you want this bag back?
No, there's no antennas in it. It doesn't do me any good.
It's not a good luck bag.
I don't have the antennas here, though, do I?
I don't know.
They're dissolved in the washer.
You guys cleaned up all my equipment. It was all there, so I trusted you. I haven't went that far to allocate anything.
Who's you guys?
You guys. Hey, you guys.
Anyone else? Anyone and everything that was on site. Nate cleaned up his show.
Oh, so he took them as souvenirs.
He keeps on sending me random pictures of Cobra equipment. It's weird.
Need any extra antennas, man? $2.99.
Jeez.
Only half burnt.
I found that in my pants pocket, and I've washed these pants probably 5 times since.
You found my sack in your pants pocket?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why was it in your pocket?
I don't know. Where were we when we were? Oh, we were out on the field. I take that bag. AJ and I were talking about it earlier, and I thought that I had taken the bag and put it in my pocket when we were back over by the camper doing stuff. But it was when we were out in the field putting all of the antennas in your modules. Because Dad went and grabbed the bag and started handing me antennas, and at that point he just handed me an empty bag, and so what do you do with this? So I just stuffed it in my pants pocket, and apparently I don't check the cargo portion of my pants pockets enough.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
Sorry, buddy. It was day.
Try that one more time.
We're not going to talk about the day. We're going to talk about now. Right now.
You said it Yoda-like. I can't even say it backwards.
I can't even get you to say it.
Welcome to the Rhythm Pyro Podcast, where Rosie, AJ, and Jamie ignite your passion for pyromusical show design while testing the very limits of your capacity for stupid.
Welcome to the Rhythm Pyro Podcast. I'm Bo. That's AJ.
Hola.
That's Jamie.
Meow.
Meow.
We're hobbyists and semi-professional pyro show designers. We're big fans of the Pyromusical, and this podcast is a place we can get together, talk shop, fireworks, art, share tips, tricks, news, and design insights with you. Big thank you to all the Patreon supporters that we have. The casting call for the November show roundtable is open. This month is only open to Patreon supporters. So if you guys want to hang out with us this month on air, head over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Rhythm Pyro. Sign up, drop a comment on the casting call post. We're opening up 2 seats at the end of the month. We'll probably track that episode in the next couple of weeks here. This guy's airing on the 15th, so we'll probably track it the week of, I don't know, 18th or the 25th. Probably not the 25th because it's going to air on the 29th. Because nothing says Happy Thanksgiving like a couple hours of unabated stupidity with him and me and you.
Hey, man, people got to listen to some while they're driving to family's house.
Yeah.
Go join the Discord server. AJ will tell you a joke, and then he will jiff you to death when you miss the punchline.
Oh, my God.
Start talking about it.
I finally read that earlier. Oh, my God. That's funny.
The Discord was, dude, I know. And that's my inkling that I'm like, okay, he finds something funny about what he said, but I can't help but answer it. I can't help but answer it and provide a little insight, because what Curtis threw out in the Discord was, timing relationships between speakers and spectators, which you absolutely have to account for in pyromusicals. It's how you get your distances. Now, on fields where you have really crazy relationships with speakers and, your speaker arrays are not at all arrays and they're just like standard PA systems that people bought, you're going to get a lot of phasing differences on, left field and right field. But the way that they got that live sound setup jiving, it's dead nuts on. So like you worry about that depth perception. So naturally I answer the question and then I get the gif of death. the joke flying, the joke flying over the stick man's head. I'm like, okay, I missed something.
Don't you usually with me? I have no idea what the he's talking about.
Yeah, so go join the Discord server and start talking about it. Speaking of talking about it.
Today in Pyro News.
This is so stupid. This is so stupid.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Make no mistake that before I proceed here with this next bit, that obviously the Rhythm Pyro podcast is it's a commentary publication. AJ, Jamie, and myself all love sharing our experiences. We love talking fireworks. We love teaching. And most of all, we live our lives in our lane, enjoying good conversation. And the Rhythm podcast was kind of built on that foundation, real quality conversations. So you can imagine how off kilter it caught me a couple of weeks back when I was told to check out the Pyro Unintelligent podcast, where in a display of noteworthy maturity and unthought out genius, Donald the Dastardly put on a hell of a public performance.
Wait, say that again?
So he issues the old fat-fingered reverse hitchhiker live on video as their guest rolls through the list of event sponsors, of which we are one. And then you've got latency too in the video. So God knows, like all of these other sponsors that are watching this video, they're just seeing this dude thumbs downing the camera like a moron. I'm totally cool with being the butt of jokes. My sense of self-detriment, it runs deep. Have a laugh at me and mine at my expense. All you like, I can take a joke. But, if I could offer up a suggestion on what not being tone deaf looks like, when you go out of your way to issue a sick burn on an open publication where, you've got brand partners, guests, company representatives, just to express your disapproval for a brand partnership that, just not even a brand partnership, because he wasn't disapproving, I don't think, of our partnership with the brand that they're interviewing and in that event, but he's expressing his disapproval of us for whatever reason that may be. So, but the minute that you do that, we've cultivated our relationship with this brand over years worth of success being customers with that brand, but we're business partners with that brand as well. We're sponsoring this event because we believe in the brand. What you're showcasing when you have an outburst like that, it makes you look bad. You chief most of all. It makes everybody involved look bad.
Especially when you're your guest is supposed to be the primary and your guest is there to talk about their event?
You have a duty to the people that you invite to your publication to do these things. So like, why act like a kid? You know, and which is really funny because through the grapevine, obviously, you know, we share a lot of common friends with both of these guys. And I can't tell you how often I hear how little they think of our publication because they think it's so unprofessional in the way that we format it. And that's fine. This is exactly why I say that I operate and produce this podcast in our lane. I wouldn't want to do this podcast. I don't think you guys would want to do this podcast if we did it or conducted it any other way.
Manner.
Yeah.
These conversations are the exact same conversations we had on the phone in a 3-way conversation before we decided, hey, let's start recording yourself.
I mean, if I had to act like I actually like you guys, I don't think I could do that.
I wouldn't want to do this every single week if I had to pretend.
I do that for a living. I need a break.
We accept feedback of all shapes and sizes, right? Which is why I invite Donald. If he has feedback, say something. If I'm standing behind you at the bank and you're going to fart on me, then I would rather you rip one that makes your ass cheeks like completely like flap. Makes the whole bank turn around and look like, what the because it's funny.
Burn
That's funny.
my nostrils.
The silent but deadly approach it's Bush League, man.
It's Bush League. Rip one out your be a man. It's like, what's that guy that does that?
Yeah. But I am a creative at heart, and I'm not going to let this bring me down. So very much unlike the Pyro Unoriginals, I look to the universe to provide me with inspiration, which is why after this happened, you know, I had a week or two, because this is like this is maybe 2 weeks after that episode aired. So I had a few days to let it simmer, and I'm like, okay, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this, but a week later, I'm like, I know exactly how inspired this makes me. So I've decided to make lemons out of lemonade. And the Rhythm Pyro podcast now has a brand new Spite lineup of merch available over at the store. And the first, and hopefully what is a long, successful line of ways that we can continue to support our podcast, is a shirt. The new shirt is called Unleash Your Inner Butt Hurt with Us.
Didn't we already get like 5 orders?
So that's available over at the store. It should be up by the time the podcast goes live here on Friday.
I want a FOMO, but I don't.
I don't think that means what you think it means.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, but by the time it comes out, it's not FOMO anymore.
No, I'm talking about the Discord thing.
Oh,
so war has begun.
Oh God, no. That's another thing that gets under my skin too. It's like, you know, like I thought about that for a second because I knew that those guys were like, they created fake accounts just to be in the Discord, and whatever that gets you, I like, fine. Whatever, you know, we're not hiding anything there. We had some issues months and months and months ago, which is why they're no longer in the Discord to begin with. If anybody ever wondered why they're not there, there's a reason they're not there. They were in there when I was cool with them. And then all of a sudden it's like we open this member suggestion box, and then the membership episode suggestions that our members were making in the suggestion box wind up as content on their podcast. So I'm like, okay.
It wasn't even similar. It was verbatim, word for word. Yeah,
literally. It was verbatim. I mean, at least reword what your episode's going to be. You know, like, again, I don't care what you do, and it's all cool. The more content that exists in the space, the better. I'm totally happy with all of it. But if you're gonna conduct yourself like that, then you can't expect me not to react to it. The things that we're building over here are not a farm club for your content.
Farming? Boy, I live in the country.
It's a sports analogy. It's a farm club.
Wow. That's why I don't get it. Sorry.
It's a sports analogy. Yeah. Wait, what are we growing? Yeah.
Joke your head.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Post the GIF, baby. Right over his head. The chat. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Silent Badani. The fart reference. That might be another t-shirt.
I'm here all night.
Okay. Well, I guess we can move on to the real stuff now that we're past the
When's the Beavis and Butthead episode coming?
Playground nonsense. Schoolyard bullshit. Okay. All right. So we're talking about...
Ignore me?
Huh? What?
I said, when's the Beavis and Butthead episode coming?
Beavis and Butthead?
Yeah. You don't remember that?
No.
Come on, man. Remember?
No.
All right.
Just tell us. Because
Yeah, you got to
don't
just
know what
tell
you're
us.
talking about.
If I say no, then you can't say okay, and then
Cloak
just
and
expect me
dagger.
to move
You're
on.
the one that brought it up.
What?
Remember doing the
No,
whole,
I don't. Yeah, let's just pretend that we went through all of this stuff already. Go ahead. Go.
What were we just talking about?
And go.
Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis and
The
Butthead.
short clip. Remember you were talking about making the short clip?
I think I know where you're going with this, but I genuinely don't.
It must have been that long rant night we had, just a bunch of ideas that were popping up.
Good talk.
Yeah, I wasn't part of that conversation, so joke my head.
It was just a David Donnie short, but doing like an animated Beavis and Butthead kind of thing.
Oh,
Remember? Now you remember? He's like, I do.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. We'd have to dust off our best Beavis and Butthead impressions.
I need TV for my bunghole.
I need ideas for my Pyromusical.
It tastes like pink.
Okay. Q counts, they don't equal good shows. That's the real topic of today's episode.
Or do they?
It's nutty how much you hear discussion on either forums or in publications, and people are talking about Q counts. And the Q counts it's just a number, guys.
It's how you use it.
Yeah.
It's a bragging right, but you can overdo it.
Yeah. Well, and even like is it really a bragging right? Or is it just like one of those fun things? Because I think that there's designers that use it as a genuine bragging right. Like they look at it and they go, I'm some kind of record holder, or I'm so like I can't divulge this information because somehow it's going to be a reflection of what my show looks like. And I don't know how I feel about that.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think all three of us, we all say the same thing. None of us put a limitation on ourselves when we script. We just go, and we do something with what we have. And then we go back and go, all right, can I do this? And we just end up with extremely high Q count shows all the time. It's just what we do. And a lot of us isn't just like what Jamie said. It's depending how you use it too. Like if you tear a cake apart and use it as single shots instead of doing rows, now you got a 49 shot cake. Well, now you got 49 cues you're using. How are you using it? It's the same amount of fireworks in that show.
Yeah.
You're just using it as single shots and breaking them when you want them to. So it's more control than it is just saying,
exactly.
I got 49 slices in my show. I got 49 controlled shots.
It'd be like my board. I had 834 cakes on there. That would have looked like shit.
Yeah.
But if you take 2 cakes and break it down to 70 shots, now you're precisely hitting them on point, spreading out the sky without overdoing it and creating a better sight picture. So high Q counts, I agree, they don't make the show. It's how you utilize them for the purpose that you're doing it for. I mean, you can have a wonderful scripted show with 200-300 cues, depending on how long it is, depending on how many positions you have. things like that, but you start getting in the thousands and 2,000s and 3,000s, you better have a purpose for it and not show me 2,000 slices.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because
Well, and exactly.
It just
That's
looks like
it.
a big blah in the air.
That's it. Like you spoke volumes in that statement. Loading stuff onto a timeline, while it represents something, what is the purpose behind each hit point? What are you doing with your sight picture with each shaping? And each shaping is made up of a grouping of hit points. Because if the hit points just exist to throw something into the air, I've seen high Q count shows that are just utter messes in all of the verticals. And it doesn't make things good. I've put up plenty of shows with high Q counts where I go back and I look at it and I'm like, ugh, I could have done so much. I could have divided my space a lot smarter.
I mean, one thing you just said is like throwing stuff up in the air. I guess, how do you mean that? Because like I do it quite a bit on most of my shows where I'll take, like for instance, if I break up a cake, I'll shoot them as single shots, but I won't really keep them on a beat, but I keep it so that that section, that song has impact or build. So I keep building with those shots faster, and keep them breaking. So that way I know they're going to stop right when I want them to stop.
But you're not oversaturating an area just to shoot a bunch of fireworks is what he's saying.
Okay.
You're
Gotcha.
actually
Okay.
using a purpose and placing them in the sky strategically. And like you said, building up. It's just not one big finale for 23 minutes. You're like, climax, just the same, you're building something, you're slowing it down, you're spreading it out, you're building a sight picture, you're playing the levels, lows to highs, and you're going left to right. You're utilizing those, and that can get you the high Q counts, but a high Q count does not make the show. It's the utilization and the spacing and the timing and the picture that you're creating that makes the show.
Again, how many minutes was your board total?
6
minutes. Seeing that's huge for 800 plus cues for 6 minutes.
Yeah, over one position.
On one position.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
You
That's what I
put
mean.
that on
That's right.
7 positions. That's like, every time you shoot something, it's like 7 cues, But yeah, that could have been overdone, going up to 1,000 cues like I wanted to. It probably would have been a little oversaturated in areas. So I took stuff out multiple times. I added stuff in. I moved it around. I changed the angles. It wasn't all about the cue count. There was that cue count that I just had a mental, I want to do this because nobody that I know of has done it. And I just want to do it just to say I did it and prove people that it can be done and set that bar high. And let other people push that bar.
And that's dangerous, though. Like, that's dangerous. And I mean, setting a precedent, like, I get it if it's just like a personal goof, like, hey, get to it. But if the message that you're trying to convey winds up being, let me set the one position highest Q count show ever shot at 1,000 cues, and then somebody else can beat me. And then every single time these people, they throw all this money at boards and they're trying to constantly beat out a goal, right. And it just looks like an absolute mess because like I still stand behind the fact that your show was so good. And again, I like this whole podcast, we might as well turn this whole podcast into getting gooey with Jamie over his 4x8 because it's like every week we come back to how good it was because it really was good. The way that the space was used was perfect, which is why I say, just my total opinion, you would have had to add more length in order to get the same quality out of that show. Because I think it would have been messy and convoluted had you tried to hit your goal and maintain that same show length.
It was mentally exhausting. That's why I had to, like you said, it was going to become oversaturated and I didn't have the ability to go higher to do that. So like you said, I would have had to go longer and I could do it. So the cue count doesn't make the show. It's how you utilize it and properly fill in the space. And that's whether you got 1 position or 7 positions, that's going to dictate obviously your equipment, how many cues can you do, but it shouldn't be your primary focus.
And budget. I mean, getting to that
budgets?
cue count, you got to have it. Well, I'm saying like for anyone wanting to do high cue counts, besides the match cost itself, again, I mean, you can, if your budget's small and you can take
Small time.
Yeah, small time and take cakes and rip them apart. Well, now you can maximize your budget by utilizing each shot separately and constantly keeping it filled in a different pace than what the cake actually comes.
You can make one case last for 3 shows. It's pretty awesome.
Because you have the control.
It's more about control than it is about high cue count and bragging about it. It's more about everything is controlled. It shot when it was supposed to. It burned out when it was supposed to. And it broke when it was supposed to. Control.
Yeah.
I think we preach about that the most, I think, about anything.
Yeah. And I guess just like diving into the psychology behind this though, like how does it make you guys feel when you hear guys get on Facebook or when they get on forums or they get on publications or podcasts or anything, and then they start gushing about cue counts, and it's held in such a regard where it's almost like, if somebody asks a question like, hey, what's your cue count for this competition show that's coming up in a week? And the response from that is, oh, sorry, I can't tell you that because it's divulging. It's divulging something. I mean, do you really think that your competition, especially by the time that something airs,
I remember
like
AJ was like that.
I was never like that.
What?
But like, hold on.
Like that?
Hold on.
Cue
but
count
like,
matters.
Seriously, listen. Well, I mean, we've made jokes that like AJ's made the rookie numbers joke for many, many years, but like, I think some of them are split on it because there really is a sub segment of pyros, and it might be more so than most because there might not be a whole lot that shoot as many cues, and they kind of look at that crowd who hold themselves in some kind of high regard because they have these super high cue counts, and they're almost like, is that an elitist way to look at it?
It's became that way. I agree.
I think people have turned it into that meaning more. It's kind of like, instead of it being what it's supposed to be, that they've turned it into this whole like, and really, I guess more like a Democratic Republican kind of thing. Like it's just like people got one way or another. Hey, this is the best way to describe it. Instead of just seeing it for what it is, it's like, that's just how I script my shows. This is how I do it. And
it's became that bar. I got to beat 2,000 cues.
Yeah, and that's
2,000 cues is not how you win a show.
Exactly.
It's like, when you shoot a show at Skywars and find out that it was the highest cue count a Cobra ever shot.
Cool
and you're like, oh, wow, never would have thought because who knew? Awesome. And then having someone demeanor you and say, oh, well, it was only for 24 hours.
And I agree with that because I don't want to go to Skywars and everybody just tries to have a high cue count. That's not going to win your show. It's just not. It's the creativity on how you utilize it, whether it's 1,200 cues or 2,000 cues. Don't be that person who's, I got to have 5,000 cues, because that doesn't really mean anything. But if you do 5,000 cues and you timed it out perfect and used your space perfectly, that's probably going to be a pretty badass show, but it's not because it was 5,000 cues.
Yeah. If you used your 5,000 cues and created an emotional response from the audience throughout the entirety of that journey, and you utilized your effects properly, you used your effect placement properly, and you executed, that's what gets you the win. I mean, it has, like, there's been plenty of competitions where the lesser cue count has just destroyed the higher cue count.
It's some of the shows we watch that just kind of pause and break, and people are afraid of dark sky or, there's nothing going on there. I was afraid there wasn't going to be enough. That's kind of the point. You want to put emphasis on those certain little spots, and you've got to be brave enough to take that risk.
Yeah.
And if you use those break aparts and single shots to ensure your control, you got to take a little bit of risk from time to time, and it pays off in huge dividends like Bitcoin.
That's right. You just got to hold it for 10 years. Right.
Gotta hold it.
I would say that this principle probably applies more so in 1-3 shows. If your setbacks are closer on the spectrum of safe rather than further away, obviously the stuff that provides tons and tons of perspective because it's so far away from the audience, that's less head movement that the spectator needs to make in order to perceive the sight picture. But the more that the eyes have to move from the bottom of the field to the top of the field and side to side, given your field wingspan is normal, like that's kind of stuff that it should make you cue conscious, right? When you're putting hit points on a timeline,
your senses.
Yeah, because you put hit points on a timeline typically in time with music. You're feeling something in the music, and traversely you want to create a picture to go along with what you've identified in the music. But it's very, very easy in design software, especially visual design software, when you're zoomed out and you have this you got your entirety of like your sight picture in one tiny little screen, and you're seeing contextual field setups, everything from 1/4 all the way up to 8-inch shells on a tiny little screen. I don't
have to move my head.
Right. You don't have to do that. But it's like, it's so much bigger in real life. It's like what that chick, when she saw the dinosaur in Jurassic Park, she couldn't get her jaw off the ground. So the same thing with a big pyromusical. It's a big brachiosaurus.
I mean, that's another good point is where's your spectators at? Because if they are too close, you can easily overwhelm them. But if they're further away, they're not doing that running back and forth. That's a real good point.
You can do it with 1/4 too, if it's super close.
Oh, yeah.
And with like high Q counts too, like you can have, like I do not shoot where I wire stuff together. I don't think you guys really do much anymore either.
What does that
So
mean?
if you're shooting 3 items at one time to make a shape or to like make one row of something, like if you took a mine and another mine that was a little higher and then like a meteor out of that, that's 3 cues. You know what I mean? So, but if you use that a bunch to make some kind of shape, well, that's 3 times however many you're going to use. That's just a lot of cues you use. It's just how you use the product. You could have 100 cues in no time if you just do like your own. What is that raccoon cake that like goes up and down? Oh God, what's it called? The fan slice. I forget what they call that thing.
Goes up and down.
It goes up and down. That's a unique.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
They all start. They usually start at the ground and then go up.
Talk about the
and then
peacock.
when they break, they come back down.
Yeah, it's a comet. You're such a.
Well,
you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Are you talking about the peacock?
You're such a. That's not a peacock.
It's
either.
that.
See,
It's
you don't even
one.
fucking name it.
It's a firework.
I
You're
don't
never
know the name
you're
of it. I
never
don't have cool
ever going to
fireworks
believe
like
this.
you know
It
exactly
starts on
what
the
I'm
ground
talking
and then it
about.
goes up in the sky and then it comes back down. It's crazy.
Oh wait, fireworks go up then they come down.
Mhm.
That's a new idea. You should have
The fan
It'll come to
slice
you.
moves up and slowly comes back down.
What effect?
It's comets.
Don't say
It's the
They're
Georgia
mines.
line effect.
They're mines.
Yeah,
Oh my God, that's going to piss me off.
it'll come to you. And I'll be here.
Just Google it.
Be here
Googling it
eagerly
right now.
awaiting the product ID so I can.
Just call Chad. He'll know what you're talking about. I'd
So I
love
can
to hear what
describe this.
Chad has to think when he hears you talking about the up-down firework.
I can picture the
I
look on
said a
his face.
slice.
I can picture
Can
it.
you-
He's like,
can you
"These dumb
picture it?"
idiots.
It's
Why
not-
do I
it's-
listen to this stupid podcast?
It's the slow brooding.
And
Blink
then
with
just
the-
shaking his
the
head and
flat
looking
lip.
off into the
Uh-huh,
distance. Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm
Put
gonna
it in put it in the
unregister
Discord.
for their
Actually,
class
post it in the one channel where it's super helpful stuff, and then caption it the firework that goes up and down.
Yeah, I mean, you could teach us about that at CobraCon.
Wow. RA143040. 90 shot red spiders with blue. That's what I have it under.
141040.
143040.
143040.
Isn't the spiders like a cross set?
040.
Or is that
It's a double wing.
I don't even know what that
wing.
means. Just draw a picture.
That helps. Yes, it's a double wing.
See,
it's a butterfly.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that's what
it's not a butterfly.
It's the angel wings. It's those angel wing slices.
Yeah, it goes up and then down. Exactly.
Peacock, double wing, whatever. Same difference.
Well, I mean, the actual terminology is left to right, right to left.
It's going from negative 70 to 90.
It couldn't go left to right because if it was going left to right, it would shoot to the right. It never leaves 90 degrees.
The fuse pattern is what we're talking about because that's how fireworks are described. If you look at anybody else in the world and tell them what you just told us, go to the store and
we got a new shirt idea.
Ask the guy at the Phantom for the firework that goes up and down. He's going to look at you like this dude is money. He's going to spend so much money, buddy. You're never going to believe it. You grab your cart. I got what you need. I can help you.
I'm going to go to a store and find a firework that goes up and down. I'm going to be like, see, Bo.
They all go up and down.
My God.
I mean, technically, every rocket that you shoot in the air comes down. So technically,
every single firework goes up and comes down.
Not really.
But we're not laughing at you. We're laughing with you.
I know.
Exactly.
We love this.
Seriously.
This is the stuff I live for.
I know. These are like the normal conversations we used to have.
We still have them.
I know.
You were here tonight.
I am. I'm not drunk enough for this.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
He gets this from you, Jamie.
Exactly.
He gets this from you.
What does that mean?
No.
AJ doesn't drink.
I am tonight.
Wait, what? That's weird. I know who you are.
I sober am.
Yeah. So, I mean, what advice, I guess, what advice do you guys have for,
I forgot what the topic was.
For shooters? For shooters, they look at Q counts and they think to themselves, all right, I feel like there needs to be more. Or I feel like maybe there's a feeling of inadequacy or something or whatever, anything. I mean, take any psychological weird reason that we've all experienced this. We look at the Q count discussions after a couple of years of being pyros, and then because we're all competitive by nature, we look at our peers and we're like, ooh, okay, can I beat that? But then it's really easy to lose sight of what really makes the pyromusical and what makes it special.
I would suggest, like you said, a Q count doesn't make the show. It's focus on your audience or yourself, what you like, and use those fireworks. Use the effect. What is that effect doing? If you're working with a song, what is the song saying? What story are you trying to tell your spectators? You don't need to do that with 5,000 cues. What do you need to portray to that audience and utilize the effects that you have, the timing, your layout, utilize it that way, whether it's 200 cues or 900 cues. I don't really care. You need to create and instill that emotional roller coaster. Take them for that journey that you lived for the time that you were scripting the show. It's not solely focused on Q count. You script the show and you're like, wow, this is it. It's 312 Qs. Great. That's it. It's all it needs.
How about you, Bo? I want to go last this time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I actually kind of had a question for Jamie, I guess, just to try to kind of compound more on those thoughts. do you feel like, when you're doing your design, do you ever have moments where you look at it and go, do I think, one, is it really going to perform this way? And two, do I think that it's going to do exactly that? Because, your 4x8 surprised me in ways, because I saw the simulation beforehand. And I know that all the simulations weren't to AJ standards or...
Whoa. What about your standards? Your standards? Hold on now.
But you put the show up, and I didn't feel at all in any instance during the way the show is progressing that anything was missing. But at the time, I can see why you may have had hesitation sitting at the computer and thinking that, okay, is this right? Is it perfect?
So I believe there was 2 questions there, and I'm terrible at focusing on the second one or the first one, because it's like squirrel. Thought we were talking about AJ. What?
I'm gonna answer it if you just shut up.
I'm going to answer the first question. Okay, or I'm going to answer one of the questions because I don't know what they were. But yes, the inadequacy of is this enough? 109,243%.
That's it. Yeah, that's the question. Yeah,
I was scared to death, specifically during some of the slow parts that, in turn, I got the most comments on. Like, those were amazing. And whether you have a simulator thingamajigger where you script with, or you're doing it on paper and you've seen the firework, you have to know what the firework is really going to look like. Because if you are a visual simulation and that thing is off like atrociously, like it was when I started working with it, I would have added so much more to that section, and it would have been bad. It just would have been oversaturated, and I would have been very disappointed in it. But going back and just watching and testing in the product myself, and actually like, oh my God, that's awesome. I knew what the firework was actually going to do, but actually seeing it play out the way I scripted it and actually seeing it, I was more impressed in the end result, because I did refrain. It was very hard. It really was. There was a couple areas in that board that I just like, man, I really want to put something else here, but if this really works the way I think it should, it's going to be good. So yes, multiple times during that entire scripting process, I second guessed myself. I took stuff out. I added stuff. I took it out again. I watched it 353 times, and I took something else and like, no. And then there was times that, man, there's something off. There's something off. I can't put my finger on it. And I would just have to move on and come back and be like, ooh, that's it. And then make adjustments. So yes, all the time I second guess myself when I'm scripting. Specifically, is this really going to look like this? Because in real life, IRL, it's just so much more epic than even on a screen, even with a big monitor. It does not compare to the actual reality of what you're going to see, feel, hearing the music at high decibels, the sound of the firework going off, the smell of the sulfur. All those make the experience just nothing like a simulation. Nothing. Yeah. So yes.
The long version. Yes.
That's what I'm here for. The long version.
It's not what she said.
How would you know?
She told me.
Well, I'd ask you to go back and answer my second question, but I forgot it. I don't even remember what I said. Seriously. I think the second part of that conversation, I think maybe you answered the second part, and the first part was probably the
part I forgot.
Yeah. That's okay. But I think the first part had something to do with, like understanding your comfort level with the variance that you know is going to happen in design versus the field. in that all those simulations, like because they weren't perfect, I'm sure that, drove you nuts. In fact, I know it drove you nuts because in your script, you had a note column that called out how the sim was stupid and you needed to fix it. So like that was there on show day. So I kind of knew. It's like, I can get a feel for your frustration just thinking to yourself, knowing that the sim isn't right, but that's what I use to design the show. Is this actually going to work and perform the way that it should? So how much of any of that, I guess, I mean, because I think you're always going to have a degree of luck or bad luck that's associated with anything. We can test product all the live long day and, you get a sample of, 5 or 6% out of any one given case. And then you test it and you just hope for the best. Mm-hmm. But in reality, like I've had cases of like Dominator's glittering comets that were they looked awful when you shoot a whole bunch of them right next to each other. The variance on travel time and height is just so bad that like it makes your entire field picture look like absolute garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to happen and you've just got to accept that. But you also need to know your product. And that comes with experience of doing stuff. You're like, what, last time
of spending money and testing, just say it, that Jamie money.
Well, no, I mean, that's great. But just doing a show and going back and watching your previous shows, like, man, I overdid it there because I was worried that this didn't work. So case in point, in my board show, nobody really knows this probably, but my super fast zipper cake actually ended 2 seconds earlier than it really should have. But when I designed it, I knew that there was a high risk that wasn't going to run exactly what it was supposed to. But I had simulated it multiple ways. And even if it ended a little early, that particular area was unaffected by that. So I didn't put more product in there because I knew it would still actually be okay. Just some of the other stuff that was going on and just the pause, the black sky, if it happened, it was going to just enunciate, my favorite word, the next section that was about to happen. Mm-hmm. So I had refrained from doing it because I tried a couple different simulations and played with timing, tested the product. I'm like, okay, this is way faster than what I actually have simulated. What's it look like if I do it like this? And I'm like, okay, I have a little bit of tolerance here that if it does end, nobody's going to know. It still looks good. I'm going to know. It's going to drive me crazy, but it's still going to work in the area that it's playing. And you have to accept that. I mean, you just cannot control that unless you want to take 180 shot zipper cake and single shot it. Good luck.
Question for you on that, actually. Did you just let that cake burn or did you do row to row?
I let that cake burn.
So you could have then this goes to our cue count thing.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
You could have just added those extra cues to control that so that it started and right when it finished. And that's where we get high cue counts. They just, if it's how much you're going to put into it to control it. And it would have been the same amount of fireworks,
but it just would have been more time.
Exactly. And that's why high cue counts can look good or they can look horrible. It's using the same amount of fireworks. You're just allocating those cues to that time.
Yeah, but they can also be used poorly, and I think that's really
that's
what
that's the right way, and there's a way to go. Okay, lit all of those cakes with 5 extra cues, so 5 of those cakes at one time, and it just wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah, and I think
cue count is all about how you use it, not how many you can get.
Man, this is getting
there's got to be
sexual.
A reason for you using a high cue count.
Exactly, because it all comes back to a pleasing sight picture. After your show's over and your last volley has gone off, you have to be able to look at the show and go, am I happy with all of the overlay? Am I happy with my placement? Am I happy with my flow? Am I happy with how I feel like this resonated and translated based on what I designed in a visual software or in timeline or whatever? if it's not right, and you go back and you watch your simulation and things are off, or things aren't performing as pretty as they do in simulation, and you get out to the field or there's overlap, like there's always lessons that you can take away. The Q count thing is like, at the end of the day, it's just it's another number. It's
I think everybody gets wrapped up into, especially early on. I did. When I first did my first Pyromusical, it's like, 700 Qs. Yeah, screw that. I've been happy with 300 Qs on that first one. But it's all like, that's what you think when you first come out. You're coming off of that 60 Q count or something like that, and you're shooting by the cakes. Now you're like, oh man, now we can have 3-5 positions, and we can have. I'm going to go for 700 Qs. And
you shoot 700 Qs in 3 minutes.
yeah, exactly. So I think everybody initially gets caught up in the hype if they're doing a Pyromusical, but it's not all about the Q count. It really isn't. It is your utilization of your product, your knowledge. It's all how you play with it.
Oh my God.
Q count matters.
Okay.
We've been saying that forever.
Q count matters. You spent the last half an hour talking about how it doesn't matter, and then famous last words.
It does matter.
It does matter.
It's not the big number.
Yeah.
It matters that it's the right number.
Oh my God.
So it does matter.
Let what you see on your timeline tell you whether or not you have enough. Because just like in music or any other creative avenue, painting a picture, you're writing a song, you're drawing something, whatever your form of art is, it's easy to oversaturate.
Do you ever looked at your timeline after you're done scripting and you almost see a pattern? Like you're strumming a guitar, like, you kind of see those.
That's likely everybody interprets a timeline differently, but I mean, it's easy to look at it and you can kind of see where your groove is, like what you see and what you hear and what's inspiring you to hit certain points.
I just wing it.
You're such a liar. You pull this every time, I swear with you. Oh God.
Okay, we done. Are we done? Did we do the intro? Yeah, we did the intro.
I think the longer we talk about it doesn't mean it's better.
That's true. And I don't think that means the longer we talk about it that the conversation is going to get any better either, because I would argue that it's getting worse. Oh, I think we hit it.
I mean, in like a few short words, like literally saying Q counts matter only when.
I'll go first. I'll interject myself. I'll be that guy. My final word on Q count is don't even pay attention to it. Paint your sight picture based on your comfort level with your fireworks and create a stellar Pyromusical. And if it moves and flows and you got this kaleidoscope of sexy field picture and it looks great, then try it out. See how it translates. If it doesn't translate, then go back to the drawing board. If it does translate, then you're good to go.
That actually sounded kind of hot, dude.
That's right.
Wow. You should listen to that again. Listen how you said that.
Wow. I 100% agree. Don't focus on your Q count. If your show, if you're doing a simulation or whatever, portrays what you in your mind are seeing, and it does it has you emotionally like, oh, that's awesome. Don't even look at the Q count. Only thing you need to look at the Q count is, do you have the equipment to do it?
Yeah.
Don't go for, like me, I was shooting for 1,000 Qs on a board. That was just, I wanted to say I did it. Don't do that. That's why I didn't do it. If it does exactly the way you're like, wow, this is it, then stop right then and there.
And win like Jamie.
Lovely.
Coming for the gold.
As if you don't have enough of it. Go ahead, AJ.
Somebody get the guy a belt.
Well, he's just going to take it and to melt it down so he can have money.
Oh God.
No, I agree with both of you. I think that when you're just scripting your show, don't even think about it. It's not about how many cues can I get on there. It's just build the show the way you want to build it. And like both of you both said, if it works out and your site picture looks good, then go and try to shoot it. And like Bo said, learn from that. What could I do differently? I could still have more control here. I could do something different here by just toning this down a little bit. You'd be surprised how many shows that would be 300 cues, you could make 600, and it's the same amount of fireworks. It's just how you're going to use them.
Fireworks are like, what did Den say last week? Den said stupid.
Expensive?
Den said, oh, expensive. Yeah. That makes way more sense. What have we been doing for the last 2 years? Fireworks are stupid. Yeah. Den said it. He said we're living in the golden age of fireworks, and not only in a sense where there's so many fireworks available to us, but there are so many great designers to draw inspiration from as to what you can do with fireworks, that I think that's where a lot of that cue count thing comes from. The first thing that we ask as new budding designers trying to learn from our peers is, what's your cue count? What's your cue count?
Seriously.
How many channels? Yeah. How many channels?
Those are rookie numbers, bro.
Yeah, those are rookie numbers, bro. How many, how many channels, how many positions, how many of a certain type of product and all this kind of stuff. And that's all well, fine and good. But it's like you do at some point to put yourself in a creative mindset and separate yourself from the logistical and the administrative and like all the left brain stuff, and put yourself in that true creative mindset. You know, the art behind the Pyromusical is being able to paint that picture that makes the most sense and that's going to resonate the most. And somebody said it, one of the greatest guitarists that ever lived, John Petrucci, somebody said in a documentary that I watched once that the notes that the guy doesn't play are just as important as the notes that he does play. Yeah, because the guy, he's a musical genius in the way that he writes.
That's good.
Yeah, because it is like Pyromusicals are very much the same way. What may not exist in certain verticals and in certain void spaces may be
certain effects.
Yes, may be the difference between a site picture that's too busy or a site picture that's not busy enough.
God, that's good. That's deep, Bo.
Yes, twice. From hot to deep. I'll finish this off and start talking about
serious,
it.
AJ. We have listeners trying to learn here.
AJ, I was going to tell you that you sounded so sexy when you finished yours earlier.
What
are we talking about?
I mean, you sounded so sexy because you agreed with me.
Oh my God.
I see what I did there. Yeah. See what I did there. Okay. Go join the Patreon, patreon.com/rhythmpyro. Put your name in the hat for the show roundtable. 2 seats
Don't
open.
Forget.
I think that's it.
Only you can prevent pyro fires.
Only you can prevent pyro fires.
God, we should stop talking about it.
Stop talking about it. Go over to the merch shop, bozy8023.com/rhythmpyro. Get yourself a Unleash Your Inner Butthurt with Us t-shirt. Welcome to the Spite Series.